NASCAR is headed to the famed Darlington Raceway.
It's a tough track to tame, but victory here is oh so sweet.
After an electric season full of thrilling victories,
Larson is going to win the Brickyard 400.
Tyler Reddick is going to win it by a car length.
and tough losses.
Turn 4, Kyle Larson gets turned around.
Oh, crash!
Oh man, big wreck. Denny Hamlin goes for a spin.
The track Too Tough to Tame is the final chance for fans' favorite drivers to punch their ticket to fight for a championship.
Oh, yeah! One hell of a job, man. One hell of a job.
So buckle up, because we're headed to the Lady in Black.
Welcome to Around the Track, presented by Moultrie Mobile. I'm Kim Coon alongside Ryan Flores, and it was an action-packed weekend. Lots of names you'll recognize in Victory Lane. Riggs, Truex, and Burton, but maybe not the drivers you're guessed.
Yeah, it was a crazy week. Hey, first off, welcome back. Looked like you
Thanks.
had a great trip. I'm happy to have you back here. But yes, let's start with the 21 car. I train with those boys. They're my pit practice partners, and they're a very young team, so I was excited to see them kind of throw this playoff bubble on its lid.
Yeah, and history was made. It was great to have Jeff Burton help with the call, just the enthusiasm, and it reminded you how important and how just emotional race wins can be. I think that sometimes gets lost in the season.
Absolutely. It always had to be the Wood brothers with another Virginia family, the Burtons, at Daytona to get their 100th win. I was part of 99, so it was really special to see them get their 100th. Blaney was even hanging out in Victory Lane, handing out beers, and it was like everybody was part of the team. Then we look at Ryan Truex, man. He did a great job. He only gets a limited amount of starts in that Joe Gibbs car, so it was awesome to see him take advantage of that. And then Lane Riggs, man, they've had a tough year.
Yeah.
He filled some big shoes going into that championship, the previous championship truck, so it was good to see him punch his ticket to victory lane.
Yeah,
a little bit late.
Dislocated his shoulder, too.
It's a tough look when you hurt yourself celebrating, but his team got it popped back in, and he was able to go on the victory lane and celebrate with his boys.
Yeah, and the action from the racetrack continues this week, not just at Darlington Raceway, but all over the country.
Absolutely. We got the Cars Tour at Florence Motor Speedway, always an exciting race. Tire saving will be in full effect there. The Modifieds at Oswego, the Bud Classic weekend. The Steel Palace up there, it's one of my favorite racetracks. The Coin State Fairgrounds, we'll see some ARCA action. We'll see the Euro Series on Saturday and Sunday this week. NASCAR Mexico at Aguas Calientes, one of my favorite tracks to say. And then NASCAR Canada Series and Brazil Series, both racing on Sunday. But man, ARCA.
Yes.
It's a lot of money on the line this weekend.
Yeah, so Sawalich obviously took home the win at the Springfield Mile. Now he's up for $20,000 if he can get it done at DeCoin.
Yeah, and if he doesn't win, that money will split between the top three average finishers of those races. But it'll be interesting to see if Sawalich can do it. The last driver to do that is one of your counterparts at NBC, Parker Klingerman. He did that. He picked up that bonus back in 2009.
As we look, though, at the action from Florence, it's not that far from Darlington. So if you're looking to get a jump start on the weekend, if you're headed to Darlington, Florence, not that far. And you'll have a future Hall of Famer in the field. Kevin Harvick is in the Pro Late Model race.
The Cars Tour has been electric, and I Googled it. It's 24 minutes from Darlington Speedway to Florence, so if you're in the area, you need to go check that out. If you're not there and you're up in the Northeast, the Steel Palace of Oswego is always exciting. Bud Classic weekend, they'll have the modified tour there. It's a Labor Day weekend staple, just like the Southern 500 is, so that'll be really fun. You'll also get to see super modifieds and a variety of other cars racing that weekend.
You mentioned NASCAR Mexico at Aguas Calientes. That's not the only action we're going to be seeing from Mexico in the next year. It was announced this week that NASCAR's top two National Series are headed there next season in June. The Xfinity Series back on the track, and then the first time the Cup Series has been at an international track in a very long time.
It's absolutely exciting. I've never been, we raced in Canada, but I never got to go to the Mexico Series
neither.
races because I wasn't doing the Xfinity Series, so I'm excited to get down there. It looks like the fan base is just awesome, and when they had the NASCAR Mexico cars with the Cup cars earlier this year in the Coliseum, it was electric, and those guys were into it. So a lot of fans down there in Mexico City. I'm excited to go down there next year and try to win that race.
Yeah, we'll look forward to the rest of the schedule for 2025 being released soon.
But this weekend we're heading to Darlington, and before we take a deep dive into this weekend, let's take a look back at the 2023 action from the Southern 500.
It's 87 degrees here in Darlington, South Carolina.
The Cookout Southern 500 is under the green flag.
Bubba Wallace is going to speed in turn 4. Oh, trouble. Ty Gibbs is just shoving Austin Cindric.
Seen a lot of guys make contact with the wall up the racetrack.
Kyle Larson to win the Southern 500.
Southern 500, baby. Hell yeah!
adding this trophy to the collection is going to be amazing.
Kyle Larson was able to get that elusive Southern 500 win last year, but going this year, we've got the Xfinity Series at 3:30 on USA on Saturday, the Cookout Southern 500 Sunday 6 p.m. But let's talk Xfinity first. That field is stacked for this weekend.
Absolutely. We've got Joey Logano in the field, Noah Gragson, Ross Chastain, Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott. And so the thing for me is there's only 4 races left in the regular season for these Xfinity Series drivers. If you're outside the bubble and looking to get a win to lock your spot in the playoffs, it's going to be very challenging this weekend.
Absolutely. This is not a place where you want to go if you don't have momentum on your side. One team that does have momentum on their side is Justin Allgaier. He just took the regular season's points lead away from Cole Custer, so he's trying to add to that playoff point lead, getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, and Ryan Sieg, shout out to him. He hopscotched into the playoff grid, went into Daytona -1. Now he's +15. That knocks Sammy Smith out of the playoff picture. He's got 4 races to make it up, but that's a big deal. Sammy Smith and Brandon Jones both outside the playoff picture. JRM, usually we see multiple cars in the championship 4 from that team, and now we're looking at half the team not even possibly making the playoffs.
Yeah, that's tough, and that Sieg bunch is really out kicking their covers. They're doing a great job with their alliance from Stuart Haas Racing, but like you said, if you're at Junior Motorsports right now, you are sweating. So not only does the Cup Series have a lot going on in points, but Xfinity as well. But as we look forward to the Cup Series schedule, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so we have practice and qualifying Saturday afternoon with the Cookout Southern 500 on Sunday evening. Darlington is a track that presents a lot of challenges, a place where both ends of the racetrack are very different. It's an egg-shaped track, high tire wear. It means it's going to be very busy for you guys. 4 tires on every single call, possibly?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You are never doing 2,
Yeah.
and you want to keep the wrench out of the window as much as possible, but the crew chiefs are going to have to keep up with their cars because, as we saw, practice at 12:30 and the race starts at 6. So the race will start in the heat of the day, and then the sun will go down right over turn 4. It's like your blind spot. You're looking down pit road, staring right into the sun setting. It's picturesque, but it's really tough, and then it'll cool off, so the track will go through a progression. You'll have to stay up on that. It'll be interesting to see who kind of gives up on the early runs to be there at the end and who has to adjust on their car during the day. But it says right here, it's an endurance race all night long. And this race is a little bit of a trap for a pit crew guy because you go into this race and you want to have a great night. You know it's going to be an absolute dogfight on pit road, but if you try to go too fast too early, you get yourself in trouble. And it's a little bit of like a race where you watch people eliminate themselves. Because once you dump all your track position, it's really hard to get it back because it's super straightforward. Like you said, it's 4 tires every time. You can never stay out. You can never put 2 on it. You can never do fuel only. So you put yourself back in the pack, it's hard to get back to the front.
Yeah, and you also have to be able to rip the boards. It's a place where the high line comes in. That's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. And then you kind of mentioned it, but the endurance race, not only for the pit crews and for the drivers, but for the cars too. We've seen multiple mechanical failures over 500 miles at Darlington.
Absolutely. This place is really tough on equipment. I think the only other place that's tougher on equipment is Bristol. It's probably the only one that even is close to it, but there's a lot on the line, not only on the playoff bubble at the front of the field. So let's take a look at the regular season points championship battle. We see Tyler Reddick is leading that with 823 points, and Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott just 17 and 18 points behind, respectively. That might seem like a lot.
It's not.
We're talking about stages. That's not even 2 stages.
No, not at all. And you think about if somebody were to have a mechanical failure or stuff their car in their fence early and even be able to stay in the race, they could be putting valuable stage points at risk. So it's going to be a battle to the end. And as we talk regular season points, not only the regular season championship, but there's points awarded to the top 10 in the regular season points. And so all those guys through the top 10, including you guys, are going to be gunning for that next spot because the points are really close, and each additional position you're able to move up is going to pay off in playoff points.
Absolutely. We're battling hard with the 24 cars, so we are making sure that we keep those guys behind us. We want to outperform them all day. Another place that people are going to be looking to outperform each other is on that playoff bubble. So let's take a look at what's going on down there. We see that this race has gotten even tighter. Chris Buescher has really separated himself by 21 points, but like we said, that is not very much when stage points come into effect.
Yeah, and really Harrison Burton winning through a lot of teams for a loop. He takes another playoff spot. The 3 penalty was upheld, so he does not get credit for that Richmond win, Austin Dillon that is. So opens the door for possibly 3 drivers to get on points. However, the opportunity for another driver to win that has not visited victory lane is certainly on the table. You think about Eric Jones, what he's been able to do at Darlington, Kyle Busch at Darlington. Not only that, I look at the spring race. Stewart-Haas Racing had 2 cars in the top 5. Josh Berry 3rd, Chase Briscoe 5th. Josh Berry's coming off what I think was his best super speedway performance that we've ever seen at Daytona. So I feel like that team has a lot of momentum. And although it's going to be more difficult than, say, at a Daytona, I think you could open up the door for a wild card winner this weekend, too.
Absolutely. The guys on the bubble there, the 1, the 8, the 14. I've seen all of those guys in victory lane, the 10. But albeit not be the Cup Series for all of them. Kyle Busch is one of the Cup Series, but I've seen Ross Chastain in victory lane there. I've seen Chase Briscoe in victory lane there, Noah Gragson. So, man, it's not I wouldn't call it a wild card race, but it is a place where if your team goes out there and outperforms every other team and you have your best night, you can really throw a wrench in the plans of these guys on the bubble. And when I look at Chris Buescher and Ty Gibbs, they're a little bit closer than I want to be. So Ty Gibbs isn't safe because if there's a new winner and Chris Buescher outperforms the 54 team, he could be on the outside looking in. So, man, there's a lot going on. It's going to be a super exciting race on Sunday night.
You mentioned Noah Gragson and his potential to win in the Cup Series at Darlington. He's done it twice in the Xfinity Series. Let's take a look back at his victories from Darlington Raceway.
The 8th caution of the day. Noah Gregson's going to have to do it again, but this time on a little bit older tires. To the bottom of the track. Does he try to slide? No, he can't get there. Gregson, Burton. It's going to be Noah Gragson out of 4. He'll win at Darlington.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Watch Noah Gragson right here.
You're better than him.
There you go.
The 9 looking low. Noah Gragson to the low side. And Creed, he pulls the video game move. He's in the wall. Can he keep the throttle up? Here comes Noah Gragson. Creed cannot do it. And Gragson will win at Darlington. Unbelievable. I bet Noah Gragson can't believe how that just came down.
Good job, guys.
As we look at Noah's Darlington stats, 2 absolutely electric last lap pass wins. That last one we saw in 2022 was crazy. 5 top 5, 7 top 10s, and he's never finished outside of the top 10 in the Xfinity Series races here that he's run. He's going to be in that Xfinity car this weekend at number 30 for Rhett Jones Racing. How do you think he's going to do?
I think he's going to do well. Earlier in the season when he was in that car for them, he was really helping the team grow, had a finish that I think surprised some people. And then I think that's just a precursor to Sunday. Just getting laps on that track. I know the Xfinity car is different from the Cup car, but it's very track specific. Darlington is such a unique track that any seat time I think is going to help.
Yeah, any laps that you can get at Darlington are going to help. So we'll see if that seat time in the Xfinity race can help him maybe pull an upset Sunday night.
And like I mentioned earlier, 2 SHR cars finished in the top 5 in the spring at Darlington. Granted, 100 miles longer this weekend, but Noah should be worry-free as we head into the last 11 races of the season. Already knows where he's going next season. He's going to be in the seat for Front Row Motorsports, so I'm excited to see what he's able to do this weekend. But now that we've told you everything you need to watch this weekend headed into the Lady in Black, Erica is going to tell you where to put your money when it comes to the track Too Tough to Tame.
Hey race fans, Corey LaJoy here. Join Ryan Flores and myself for Stacking Pennies each week. I'll break down my race and explain what happened right out of my windshield.
Plus, we award the Dogs of the Week for the best pit crews and go in-depth on all the money stops, pit road mistakes, and penalties.
And we've got a ton of guests. We have SVG stopping by. We had Ricky Stenhouse after he punched Kyle Busch in the face. We've had Bubba. We've had all sorts of guys in here in the Nonsense Garage, so you do not want to miss it. Check us out on Sirius XM Channel 90, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast. Each and every week, Stacking Pennies. That's what's up.
So who is your best value pick for your fantasy league?
I've got my guy.
Yeah, we took a gamble this weekend.
Luck or the lack thereof. It's a big factor here today.
Listen to me out there, gamblers.
Intrigue, baby.
Now it's time for Easy Money with E. We're going to welcome in our resident sports betting analyst, Erica. And I got to tell you, we knew it was coming, but a wild card. That was Daytona last weekend. Unpredictability played out. We saw Harrison Burton get his first Cup Series win. And I have to imagine if bettors had him on their bet slip, they cashed out big time.
Absolutely, Kim. So let's just break down what a few different wagers would have won you. If you backed Harrison at plus 7,500, which is pretty much where he closed at most books, Harrison at plus 7,500, a $2 wager would have won you a total of $152. A $10 wager would have won you a total of $760. A $100 wager on Burton at plus 7,500 would have won you a total of $7,600. So we've learned a couple of things. A, there's always room on the bet slip for a long shot, even if it's just $1 or $2, like your Starbucks money. And super speedways, as we know, are unpredictable from a NASCAR perspective, but absolutely from a betting perspective as well.
All right, fans, take that note to heart because we have 2 more drafting style tracks to visit before the end of the season. So those long shots, they can be worth it. All right, we are headed to Darlington this weekend, and Harrison shows up on our head-to-head bet for the weekend. Who is he up against?
There's a head-to-head that features Harrison Burton and Carson Hocevar, and Burton is plus 130 and Hocevar is minus 175. I absolutely am going to demand that you take the plus money side of this at plus 130, because in what world would you lay any money on Hocevar at minus 175? No shade, but the smarter side of that is the plus money. And as we've already talked about, he's coming off that magnificent win last week at Daytona. And then also he's placed here before, actually last year, 2023. So that to me is worth a plus money backing.
Okay, nice. Well, as we dive into other bets for the weekend, let's look at Erica's top picks for the Lady in Black.
I got 3 top picks for y'all this week. We got Bubba Wallace as a top 10 finisher at minus 105. I got Chris Buescher on my bet slip as a top 5 finisher at plus 250. And then I got my boy Kyle Busch as a top 5 finisher as well at plus 310. Well, I want to go back to Bubba, Kim. Bubba has himself 4 top 10 finishes at Darlington in the last 4 races, and that includes a 7th place finish earlier this year in the spring. And he's got some momentum. I've talked about his momentum. I've talked about him needing to be aggressive. He talked about how he's frustrated that he doesn't have an outright win, and he should be. His teammate has an outright win locked into playoffs. His team owner does as well. So I think the motivation plus the urgency will hopefully be the vehicle that drives Bubba to having an excellent race and help us cash that minus 105 as Bubba as a top 10 finisher this weekend.
I like that bet. I think Bubba certainly has showed us that he can finish top 10 this weekend at Darlington. I think maybe he'll need a little bit more than that, though, if he wants to find a spot in the playoffs, because currently he is the first guy out, minus 21. The guy on the other side of that is also one of your top picks, Chris Buescher, plus 21 getting into the playoffs, and you're picking him for a top 5. Why?
I do want to say this, Kim. There is a market for him as a top 10 finisher at minus 145. So if you feel a little bit safer there, totally go for it. But last season, this exact race last year, he had himself a podium finish. And granted, he doesn't need to be as aggressive as Bubba because, as you know, from a points perspective, he's sitting a lot prettier. But who doesn't want to win this race? So if you want to be a little bit risky, go Buescher plus 250. If you want to play it safer, go minus 145 as a top 10 finisher. And if you remember a few weeks back, I gave you guys the same bet, the same markets for Buescher, and the minus on the top 10 side ended up hitting.
Good stuff there. You mentioned his strong finish last fall. He also had a really strong running in the spring at Darlington before that contact with Tyler Reddick, so certainly a solid bet. And then finally, you had Kyle Busch in your top picks. I love this because he's on a little bit of a string of a hot streak, surprisingly, after what was a summer slump beforehand.
That summer slump had me fading Kyle Busch every chance I got. But now I'm backing him because he has definitely picked up the momentum. 2nd place at Daytona, 4th place at Michigan, 12th at Richmond. Granted, Richmond 12th place is not anything to really pat yourself on the back about, but I think it does prove that his team finally started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So never count out a 2-time champion. He has shown us that he can string together some better finishes. So at plus 310, I think that's a really solid bet for Busch to have himself a great race this weekend at Darlington.
Well, all 3 drivers you had in your top picks for the weekend, Bubba Wallace, Chris Buescher, and Kyle Busch, looking to find a spot in the playoffs for themselves. But drivers that have already locked themselves in are in contention for that regular season championship, specifically Tyler Reddick, Chase Elliott, and Kyle Larson. So I got to get your regular season championship pick.
My regular season championship pick, Kim, is none other than Tyler Reddick. And from a betting perspective, I have not seen these odds at books yet, so keep looking for it. You might not find it, but it's just fun. If you just want to bet your friends who's going to be the regular season champion, go with Tyler Reddick.
All right, I like it. I got to say, Ryan and I are giving our regular season championship picks later in the show, and Oh, spoiler, they might sound similar to yours. But Erica, thank you so much for the insight. We're headed to your home track next weekend, Atlanta. Can't wait to kick things off in the Cup Series playoffs. Don't forget to look for Erica's bonus bets later in the week on her social media. And after the break, Ryan and I will tell you what you can look forward to if you're headed to South Carolina to take in the Southern 500.
Less than this ruler determine the winner of the race.
You put him in this position, and we're having the conversation today about why did every other crew chief miss the two-stop strategy.
This is Formula One racing, this is road course racing, and this is also short track racing.
You've only got to get to here, just over a cartway. Catch NASCAR Inside the Race each week on NASCAR's YouTube channel.
If you're headed down to Darlington Raceway for the racing action all weekend, get there early because there's a lot going on if you're a race fan in the area. Starting on Thursday, the Terrence Caraway Memorial 5K. My friend Steve Post loves the 5K. He's going to be in that race. And then Friday, the action really picks up with the NASCAR Hauler Parade. If you want to see those Cup Series haulers in action, that's the place to do it. And they like to give a toot.
Oh, yeah. And, hey, the stars of tomorrow, the NASCAR Youth Series. I'm a quarter midget kid. I grew up racing quarter midgets. They'll be racing all weekend out there as well. So that'll be super cool to you can pick your next favorite driver. It'll be super cool to check out. You can see everything that's going on this weekend at darlingtonraceway.com.
All right, it's time to make our race picks for the weekend. We're going to do things a little bit differently. Instead of giving an outright winner for the Southern 500, we're going to tell you who's going to take home the regular season championship. There are truly 3 drivers in the mix. We talked about them earlier, Tyler Reddick, Kyle Larson, and Chase Elliott. So who is your pick to take home those 15 extra playoff points?
Listen, I'm going with Tyler Reddick. Even though I don't want to pull on Superman's cape and bet against Kyle Larson, I think this is a track that is really suited for Kyle Larson, but the only other guy that can drive like him at tracks like this is Tyler Reddick. The one trap that I see them falling into, I see Tyler Reddick and Kyle Larson both, when they go to Homestead and Darlington alike, they know that they're going to be just awesome and rip the fence, and I see them sometimes step over the line and make mistakes and put themselves in trouble. So it'll be interesting to see who goes there on attack mode and goes there to try to get them extra 15 bonus points going into the playoffs.
Okay, so Erica has put her vote in earlier for Tyler Reddick. Ryan has Tyler Reddick on his list, and so do I. It's hard to pick against him. They've been on a hot streak if you throw out Daytona. To your point, though, as long as they don't get greedy, as long as we don't see what we saw in the spring from Tyler where he just got overzealous in the end, I think he certainly could actually win the race. And so I might go ahead and just say he's my race winning pick and my regular season championship pick. If you look at top 5 finishes and top 10 finishes for the entire season, he leads both of those categories in the Cup field.
What would be better than winning the Southern 500 and the NASCAR regular season, getting those bonus points all on the same night? I don't know, but as we talk about winning, that brings me to my white flag, and I got a little nugget for you.
Okay, is it trivia? Or is it just like knowledge?
It's a little trivia. Yeah, some trivia. I'm going to ask you. So September 6th, my birthday,
Okay.
well before I was born, 1965, at Darlington Raceway, the largest margin of victory in the NASCAR Cup Series took place. Who was it, and how much did he win by?
I've seen this in replays, and it is escaping me who it is.
He's
but
done
I feel
TV,
like,
and his son does TV.
He's done, was it a Jared?
Yes.
Okay, look at me. Ned Jared.
Ned Jared.
And
how much did he win by?
I feel like, by like laps, like multiple, like double-digit laps, right?
Yeah, take a guess.
12?
14.
14,
Dang,
I was
Kim.
close. Yeah.
That was really close.
I'm trying to think who finished second. My guess is going to be David Pearson, only because Pearson was
Buck
the
Baker.
guy.
Buck Baker finished second. I saw that 44 cars started, and only
good.
18 finished. It was crazy. It was a game of attrition back then, just like this weekend will be.
Yes, it's going to be an action-packed weekend from Darlington Raceway. We will see you there. We'll also see you next week.
Yep, we take you to Atlanta, the start of the playoffs, so join us right here at Around the Track next week.